Aloha and welcome to Spirit Chat Radio. Today I'm going to do a show talking about tuning into your spirit guides. And this kind of follows a theme I've been doing this week on my social media stuff with my 17 spirit guide fun facts that I've been talking about throughout I guess it's been the last couple weeks. So before I get into that, because this also all ties into the blue moon energy, all the lunar energy that I've been talking about, the different podcasts, these all tie in and link together. They're all related. They're not like separate podcasts that we're going to be talking about this. Now you have to shift your brain over here. All of this works together really nicely. Before I get into that though, I wanted to remind you guys about the new project that I've been doing, because I'm also seeing a lot of that stuff on the social media. And that is the Spiritual Guru Box. And I put it out on my social media stuff, and I've been putting it out on my email list. And what this is essentially, if you haven't heard about it or didn't hear about it in another podcast, is I've finally, after many, many years of suggesting different products and different things for you guys who are on your spiritual journey, I have finally made a subscription box where I will be personally hand-picking items to go into the box to enhance your spiritual journey. And these boxes will have different themes to them, and they will all have a purpose. So what prompted this was a lot of people, when I would suggest something on a podcast or on an article or whatever, or social media, they would say, hey, I'm having a hard time finding this, or how do you pick this out, or I'm wondering about these rocks or crystals or different things like that. And so they would be having a hard time finding the items depending on what area of the country or countries that they lived in. They may or may not be so accessible to them. And after a while, I thought, it'd be really cool if those who like the stuff that I do and would like to have more physical items in their spiritual journey to kind of tie the physical spiritual aspect together, which I find very helpful, by the way, especially when you're having a spiritual awakening and you're learning to work with your spiritual and physical body together, and you want to tie them in as a whole. It's nice to have the physical items as well, the physical rocks or beads or just different helpful things that you can use physically, technique-wise, while you're on your spiritual journey. And it makes everything feel like a lifestyle, a spiritual lifestyle. It makes you feel like a whole lifestyle, a whole person. Anyway, so I use a lot of these products. But if you're interested in finding out about the Spiritual Guru Box, you just go to spiritualgurubox.com, and there's a really cool free PDF there that you can get, which is our top 5 favorite really powerful healing crystals and stones. So we've chosen our favorite top 5, the powerful ones that we like and use, and you'll get a free PDF on what the spiritual qualities are of those, and you'll get pictures, and you'll get kind of a rundown of why we chose those and what they should be used for and who they're good for. It's a really cool PDF. Everybody loves it. So definitely go check out spiritualgurubox.com. When we launch this, or maybe you're listening to this podcast later and we've already launched this, you definitely want to get on that email list if you're remotely interested, because we do expect this to sell out from the interest that we've had. So we will try to have tons of boxes, but I don't know, how many we're going to be able to keep in stock at this point. That being said, the social media stuff that I've been talking about, if you haven't got into my spirit community, which is a spirit community of like-minded people, we go in and have a few discussions, and you have a lot of people you can talk about your dreams with and all that sort of thing. If you want to get into my Higher Purpose Learning group, which is where I posted a lot of this stuff, you can go to mykeystothespiritworld.com, and there's a lot of cool stuff there, actually, because I have my empath quiz over there. If you're wondering if you're an empath, I have my psychic ability quiz. If you're wondering if you're psychic or what your abilities are, that's a great place to take the quiz. And that quiz is really awesome. I use that for a lot of different things. But anyways, if you want to be part of the spirit community, you can scroll down on keys-to-the-spirit-world.com. You can scroll down part of the page, and there's a thing that says spirit community, or there's a place on the upper right-hand corner. So let's get started. When I posted the spirit guide fun facts, I noticed a lot of different questions and people who I guess I kind of noticed that some people were really tuned into their guides, and other people seemed sort of frustrated that they weren't being able to tune into their guides. And while we're going to be talking about some of these things here, I do want you guys to know, if you're listening to find exact steps on how to tune into your guides, I actually wrote a book on that called Keys to the Spirit World, and hence my website. But you can go to Amazon and get a more thorough breakdown on how to tune into your spirit guides. It's a mini handbook of tuning into your spirit guides. But what I want to talk about on this show, when we're talking about tuning into your spirit guides, is there is a lot of energy shifting going on. I've been talking about it with, you know, the Super Blue Moon podcast, the blue moon energy, the lunar stuff that's going on. And this all comes at a time. The reason that this all ties in together is, for those of you who've been listening to my shows for a while, is the energy is now a lot more even between the physical world and the spiritual world. We're evening out. We're almost at a teeter-totter, you know, more of an even stage, where the teeter-totter before was more heavy towards the physical, and we're moving more towards the spiritual. Right now we're sort of in an even state. And while we're at an even state, this means that the spiritual energy at this point in time is higher than it's ever been while you've been alive. So it's higher than it's been in hundreds and hundreds of years, the spiritual energy matching the physical energy. And what that means is we are going to feel a lot more effects from the astrological cycles and the you know, the sun and the moon and the planetary stuff. We're going to be feeling that a lot more on a physical level. So before, you were having to try to tune in really hard on a meditative level and meditation state, and like kind of put yourself more into a spiritual body, out-of-body experience to be sensing these energies. That's no longer the case. The case is your spiritual body is now coming out of sort of a comatose state where you could kind of, you know, bury the senses that your spiritual body would be feeling before over your physical body. Your physical body was dominant. So you can no longer do that. You don't need to put yourself in such a heavy meditative state to be able to feel with your physical your spiritual body senses. It's naturally beginning to, you know, blossom in a way and raise its vibration in a way that you can't really ignore it anymore. So physically, you're going to be experiencing a lot more things that you're going to be like, wait a minute, I'm not understanding why I'm feeling this weird shaky feeling, or this energetic feeling, this intense feeling of whatever that is. This intense feeling of feeling icky, this intense feeling of feeling sort of euphoric, this intense, like it feels different to me than before, and I don't know what's happening, but I can feel it in my physical body. That's going to become more the norm. For people who understand that it's their physical body, their brain's going to have some way to label it and go, oh, okay, my psychic senses, my spiritual senses are heightening. And that's what all these tingly feelings, that's what all of these intense feelings that I'm having, even these unsatisfactory feelings, or this feeling of being unsettled where I was settled before, like all these different foreign feelings that you were having that seem to be intense or intensified. That's what's happening as your spiritual body becomes more in balance with your physical body. And so you're not going to be able to ignore that anymore. However, here's the kicker part. With this spiritual and physical balance, right now, the astrological stuff is all lining up. I'm not going to get into that too astrologically speaking terms or whatever. I'm not going to get into that too heavy because otherwise I find myself and people going, well, can you just explain that to me in regular terms? So anyways, astrologically what's happening right now is there's a lot of chaos, change, and shifting. And so you're going to, well, you notice it right now. You're going to notice it with politics. You're going to notice it with things going on in your town. You're going to notice it in your personal life. So right now is a time of chaos, change, and shifting. That's just astrologically what is going down. And when you become, you know, when your spiritual body becomes more balanced and more sharing your lifestyle with your physical body, that effect on you, or that being able to feel the chaos, change, and shifting is really going to be probably uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable and unnerving because you're not really going to, you're going to feel like unsettled. You're going to feel like kind of off balance and maybe worried and a little anxious. And your brain's not going to really be able to know why. You're going to be like, I'm feeling all these weird feelings, but it's not like something major just happened in my life. I still have my job. My finances are still the same. Everybody seems in good health. And so I don't know why I'm feeling this way. Well, that's because you're tuning in on the spiritual level, your spiritual body. Astrologically, you're feeling the shifting that's happening. But the good news is, with the astrological stuff that's happening, there is a super bright light called opportunity. Like opportunity is popping up everywhere in this chaotic shifting change energy that's going on. Opportunity is literally just popping up everywhere. Everywhere. Now, whether you're seeing the opportunity or not, that's one thing. But I promise you, with this, we're kind of going to be ridding some old energy that's not working anymore in all kinds of fashions. That's what this change and shift is about, is bringing in new opportunity and releasing old stuff that's not working anymore. And this is going to be going on a lot of this year. It's definitely going to be going on the very first half of this year in a very intense, major way. And why did I even talk about tuning into your spirit guides? Well, because right now your most spirit guides are really trying to tune in with you. And spirit guides work with universal laws, and they work with astrological energy. So when your guides are trying to help guide you in a way that is less uncomfortable, they understand and are working with universal laws. They understand and are working with the astrological energy. They understand the timing of all of this stuff. They're a very nice spiritual choreographer. They have a lot of information that you don't have. And so it's really good to trust and rely on this information when you're being guided. But when you're normally used to working with the physical energy, it freaks people out. So they resist and they shut down and they don't want to see, hear, or even attempt to tune into what their guide's saying, because a lot of times they're going to disagree because they don't understand. Like, let's just say you could sit down, let's just say, for instance, and you guys are going to laugh, but this is, I swear, I believe this wholeheartedly. Let's just say you guys had the opportunity for your spirit guide to walk right into the door, sit down on the couch and have a conversation with you. And you got to ask some questions. And they said, you know what? You need to make a change here, and here's where you need to go in the future. And I swear I believe this. I believe that most people would be like, yeah, I don't think I want to do that. And, you know, unless the guide could literally lay out every single thing for you, which they're not going to be able to do in your communicative state. You're not going to be able to be You're not going to get a full explanation. You're going to get more of, here's where I think you should head, and this is going to be better for you. Trust me, it's going to work out in the long run. What we want from our guide is, yes, you need to make this shift, and here's why, because you're going to be more happy, you're going to be more satisfied, you're going to end up in a better position with better money and a better relationship. And I know this for a fact because here's where I see you in the future. That's what we want from our guide. But our guides won't communicate all of that information because now, you know, it's like you want the whole novel when they're going to give you cliff notes, right? They're going to give you an outline. They're going to give you an outline of make this shift here and head this direction and meet me over here. And so most people, if you even had the opportunity to sit with them on their couch and they gave you an outline without the full explanation, I promise you would probably argue with them and be like, no, I don't think you understand me. See, I don't really think you understand where I want to be. Like, I don't know if we're vibing right now. So that would probably happen. Now, you have to trust your guide and the changes that are coming into your life. And it's going to be uncomfortable. But truthfully, you don't have much of a choice. Because if you don't start rolling with the shifts and changes that are upon you, and I'm going to walk through this a little bit on kind of what your guides are going to be working with you guys on, then you're just going to find that you're just going to be kind of feeling like you're banging your head up against a wall. And when your guide is working with universal laws and this powerful lunar energy, they're going to keep coming back at you to get you to make a shift and a change. They're not going to stop. They're going to bother you. It's going to be like mom, you know, like going, did you do this? Well, yeah, I'll get to it. Did you do this? Well, I'm gonna. Did you do this? It's going to be a nonstop coming at you until you start making some shifts and changes in your life. So it's better for you to start recognizing when things are coming your way and maybe something's happening with your relationship, with your job, with your finances, with your stability of how you feel, you know, whether you have to move or stay in the same place or whatever, work stuff, business stuff. If you're seeing some changes happening, it is best to embrace that change, figure out how to work with that change, and then see where that change is going to take you. Because if you resist the change, it's going to come back around at you. And it's going to keep coming back around at you until you make a shift. And each time it comes back around at you, you're going to feel a little bit more beat up energetically. Because you're going to feel like, well, now this is happening, and then you're going to resist. And then you're going to have another hit. You're going to be like, oh, really? Now this? And then you're going to resist. You're going to have another hit going, I cannot get a break here. Well, you can't get a break because you're not listening. You're not listening to what's going on. So, here's some suggestions I have for you, and here's how you can begin to tune in. Your spiritual body, you need to acknowledge it. This is the first thing that I want you to do, is understand that your spiritual body, you're going to start feeling it more. Whether you have or have not, it doesn't really matter. It's going to happen in the future. If you're like going, I don't know what you're talking about, I feel like physically the same, then just wait it out because it's coming. But acknowledge that your physical body is beginning to make a presence. And as it begins to make a presence, you will start feeling physically different. You're going to have all these different sensations that are coming at you. As long as you've gone to the doctor and everything's okay and you know that physically you're fine, those are very good indicators, and they're cool things. They're not just like, yeah, some of the things that happens with it, feeling drained, feeling shaky, feeling out of body, those things are a huge bummer. And I'm watching a lot of people around me open up, and their spiritual body is really blossoming right now. And they're freaking. They're literally freaking. They're having anxiety attacks. They're feeling panicky. They're feeling weird. They're feeling unsettled because that's what happens. But if that's happening to you, it's super cool. Like, don't forget the super cool part, because you will also have more, you will be more easily be able to tune into your psychic senses and your guides. and the universal laws. You'll be able to feel more of which way to go and feel to the core of your body, because now that spiritual body is primary. In the chest center, you will be able to feel things differently. So for instance, one of the things I'd like you to do when you acknowledge your spiritual body is when you start having things roll at you, changes roll at you and things, start paying more attention to feeling out the situation with your chest, not with your brain. Well, you can use your brain too, but you're going to do that naturally by default. But start feeling, okay, instead of being fearful right off the bat, let's just say somebody come in and says, okay, you have to switch jobs or positions, or maybe we're eliminating your position, or you have to move or something like that. The first thing that happens to everybody is they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm getting into, and you panic. You immediately just panic because you're comfortable where you're at. Whether you like the job or the place or whatever, the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to panic. So after you panic for a half a second, I can give you that. Go internally and just feel. Feel from the chest. Feel from the chest area. How is everything going to work out? Do I feel like this is a good thing, or feel like it's not a good thing? And I'm talking, usually anxiety will come in a different place than just the chest area. It'll come from the stomach and all over body and back and everything. But just that chest center, feel really, truly, with an open mind, feel, is everything going to be okay? Because I promise you that over 90% of the time, in the high 90s, it's almost always going to be okay and or better. It's the fear that hangs us up and decides to tell us another story, right? But if you intuitively tune in, if you tune into your spiritual body and that feeling you get in the chest, and really just with an open mind go, is everything going to work out? You're going to feel a sense of calm. You're going to feel a little bit relaxed. Maybe not all over body, but just right in that chest center. You're going to feel a little bit calm, a little bit of relaxed. You might even feel a little bit of an okay feeling. That's going to happen way more often than you think. And that would be one of the first things that I would suggest that you do during this time. Is, even if it applies to world matters or anything else, just for a minute, is the outcome going to be okay? And feel, how's that going to feel? Because when you tune into your spiritual body like that, you also raise your vibration in a way that your guide is beginning to communicate with you. You can feel that communication through that chest center. People think that they're going to feel that communication and hear that communication in their mind's eye, or hear it through the ear. They will transfer information in form of a feeling to your chest center, to that real center part right there. They will transfer an information through feelings. And so when you really ask and calm down and just be very open, you'll get a transfer of a feeling through your spirit guide. So that's one thing. Then the other thing that's happening that I'd like you guys to pay more attention to is you're being guided in new directions right now. Most everybody I know is being guided in some kind of new direction. I mean, literally almost everybody I know. I've been watching. Is it just happening to a certain amount of people, or is it happening to pretty much everybody? Almost every single person listening to this podcast, something in their life, just think about what that is for you. There's some area in your life that you're being guided just in a little bit of a new direction. You're being like, you are either thinking about a new direction, you've been playing around with, what if I should try this? Or maybe I should do this. Or maybe somebody's asked you or told you, hey, you should do this. Or maybe an opportunity's come to you, why don't you try this? Like, you are being guided in some new direction with this energy, because everybody is. In your personal life, just stop for a minute and try to think about, what am I being nudged to do? What did I dream up to do? What has somebody pointed out that maybe, like, there's some kind of something you should be adding in or shifting or changing? What is that for you? that is another guide communication. This nudge, this feeling, this shift, they're really trying to come through, whether it be through a dream, through a thought, through somebody else, really trying to poke you into a new direction with this universal energy and this astrological energy, because this is huge opportunity. It's huge opportunity. This chaotic energy that everybody's feeling and think the world's just ending and coming down and everything's just in disarray, there's so much opportunity coming with this. It's really, truly amazing. And so your guides want you to take advantage of this energy, because once you take advantage of that, you're going to have a force behind you that is going to be really powerful energy into creating something super cool and different for you, something that you're wanting to do. So what area of you is prompting you to make a change? What have you been thinking about? Allow that energy to manifest. Allow whatever thoughts you're having on a shift. Allow your imagination to run wild. Allow that to take hold. Whatever this new direction is, allow it to kind of take hold and create into where the new direction, it might start as a little tiny thought. If you allow your imagination to kind of grab a hold of it, that's your guide coming through and helping you create something through your thought process. Allow that to create and see where it goes. See where this new direction unfolds to. Kind of check it out and allow that to unfold for you. The next thing that is super important is opening your spiritual eyes. That's another one. That's another way to tune into your spirit guide, especially right now. You know, people all think that that spirit guides have a very specific way of communicating that you would just know. You don't just know how your spirit guide's communicating because you've been trained most of your life to ignore the way your spirit guide's communicating, and that it's your imagination, that, you know, it's not this, it's not that. You've been taught and trained how many ways it's not your spirit guide. So then you're taught all the physical rules. Well, you have to have physical proof of this and that and the other thing, which I find super interesting, because when it comes to science and scientific stuff, you can't really, a lot of that is not physical, yet we know it to be true. So like a lot of it you can't see on a physical level, yet we believe it. But when it comes to opening your spiritual eyes and the spiritual rules in the spiritual world, which some of that actually correlates with some scientific stuff, and you can actually see it on a molecular level, like energy and all that kind of thing, which is a whole nother podcast. People they're very quick to disagree with it or not see it. So opening your spiritual eyes, there are lots of ways that your spirit guide is communicating with you through, like I said, that feeling in the chest, the gut feeling, nudges. They create situations where maybe your job or housing situation needs to shift, your financial situation needs to shift. Even when you have a thought of, I want to get up and, you know, shut off the light, and then somebody comes by and shuts off the light. There are so many different ways that your spirit guide communicates with you. Opening your spiritual eyes is really just opening the realm of possibilities to how your spirit guide is communicating with you. And my point being, your spirit guide is probably communicating with you through 110 different ways just this month, when you're looking for 3 specific ways for them to communicate with you. And it doesn't work like that. Like, they are communicating with you so many different ways. And that's something that I see often in my communities, my, you know, when they're asking me questions, my higher purpose learning group, is I notice that they seem to be very set on how they think their spirit guide is communicating with you. Open your eyes, open your spiritual eyes. discover how many different ways that could have possibly been your spirit guide having a hand in that. The more that you start working with, you know what, that could be something universal. That could definitely be my guide. My guide definitely must have had a hand in this because it was very coincidental. The more that you do that, the more that you will begin to tune in with your guide, and the more you will begin to couple that with a feeling in the chest center. So you will begin to notice when you have different, things happen where you feel like you're seeing with your spiritual eyes. And by spiritual eyes, I mean it doesn't have to be a physical thing that's happening in front of you. It can be, your spiritual eyes can be through a coincidence. Your spiritual eyes can be through a thought. Your spiritual eyes can be through a, whoa, that was weird, that just happened type of thing. Your spiritual eyes can be through a thought that caused an action. You were thinking about something, and then all of a sudden somebody did it for you. That type of thing. Your spiritual eyes is something you can't physically, necessarily see with your physical eye, right? And so once you start really opening yourself up to your spirit guide can communicate with you in so many different ways than moving the plant across the room or knocking the channel changer on the floor, you will begin to, throughout the day, go, whoa, that could have been. Oh, that could have been. And I want you guys to do that, because the more that could have been, the stronger the connection will begin to be, and you will start to see other things that will be more physically related. Okay? So once you open your spiritual eyes, then it can actually manifest stronger and stronger. But the more that you create that connection, the more that you will feel stronger when things are happening. You will know to the core of your being. And then that can actually turn into physical things. And then there's also dream state. And there's so many other ways that they are communicating with you. So learning how to open your spiritual eyes and not always just going, nope, these are physical rules. This is how the physical world works. Well, guess what? The spirit guides don't work with the physical rules, because that's not how they live. That's not the spiritual realm is where they're at. They don't really abide by the physical laws and rules that you know of here as being a physical person. But because you're also a spiritual person, we, cool enough, get to work with the physical rules and the spiritual rules. How awesome is that? Like, you get access to both sides. The thing is most people just work primarily with the physical side. And now I want you guys to learn how to work with the spiritual side and work together. Instead of, that's like, I've said this before, but working just with the physical side is like, let's just use my left hand all the time. Working just with the spiritual side is, let's just use my right hand. Well, if you get to use both hands together, everything's so much easier, right? The next thing is to be proactive when you're seeing opportunity, because your guides will help you along with things. Like, so if you see an opportunity and you go, you know what? I see where I can make an opportunity out of this, or I'm embracing to see what, let's take moving, for instance. You know what, I don't really want to move, but I'm kind of curious to see what my guides have in store for me. So I'm going to start looking and see where I end up. That's being proactive, starting to look and trusting and just being open to that. Because then you're connecting in with their energy and you're feeling open and you're being allowed to be guided towards a person, towards a place, towards whatever. Just you being open to being guided to see where this shift and change is going to take you is huge, huge. Just you feeling open to it instead of going, oh, I don't want to do this. I'm upset about it. I'm mad about it. That's resisting. But you emotionally going, don't know how this is going to turn out. Kind of curious to how it's going to turn out. Could turn out better. That's being open. See the difference? Resistant. Nope. Oh my gosh, this is horrible. To open. Don't really know. I'm not excited about it, but something cool could happen, so I'm really open to seeing. That's the difference. And so then be proactive towards the change or the shift that's going on. Be proactive towards, making something that you want to happen in that direction. Just be proactive. Take some steps towards creating the shift and the change. And then the last thing is, this is going to be a little bit sort of off, but think more outside the box. When you're tuning in with your guides, when you're working with your spiritual guides, you really need to be an outside the box thinker. Because if you're not, you will find that you will question every single thing. You will question everything based out of fear, or I need to have proof, or show it to me type of thing. And you really need to know that you really need to shift. You really need to shift your perspective and your mindset. You need to be okay with not believing in the world the way that other people believe in the world, because there's a lot of people who just think life is hard, this is the way it's going to be, of course there's going to be a change, why wouldn't there be, because life's a bummer. There's so many people like that. That's not the way to live if you really want to learn how to tune into your guides, because that's not how that works. Actually, your perspective and working with the energy is being open to, I don't know everything, and I'm really open to a different way of life. Like, I'm open to being sort of different than everybody else. My life being different than everybody else. This is kind of a strange analogy, but I'm going to bring it up because I've had a lot of people bring it up to me lately, which is the way that I live and the way that like my kids live and stuff is very different than like a lot of the people. So for instance, our jobs that we have, we don't necessarily, obviously we don't have like regular 9-to-5 jobs. We have jobs where we can, well, for instance, my son is traveling right now, and he can do that with his job. He can travel all over and work doing whatever. And I've had a lot of people that have said to me, I wish I had that life. I wish that I had that life. But we took chances on knowing that there was a different way to live. We took chances on, we knew we did not want to work the regular ways that everybody else worked. For some people that works. For us personally, it didn't. Some people love having the structure, and that's really cool. We didn't like having that particular structure. And I've known that for me for a very long time. And I knew that that would be for my kids. I could tell from my kids from when they were very little. And so for us, for our family, we have family, like through both sides, I have entrepreneurial people in my family. And that resonated with me, not working. I even tried working regular jobs. It didn't work for me. So I would be proactive in trying to figure out all these different ways that I could do something different, because I desired to do something different. I desired to be more creative. I desired so strongly to not be like everybody else. And so that's what I strove for most of my life. And opportunity started showing itself in very random places. I started doing the articles, which went into the books. And, I started doing the articles as an outlet of, I got frustrated with all the false information on the internet. And I started writing articles, then people started loving them, and then I turned those into books, and then people started loving those. And that did really well, and that basically took over any other job I'd ever done for a long time. And those books turned into a publishing company, and then that went off doing really well. And then I started doing other stuff off of my books, classes, and it just, everything rolled into another opportunity. Now, that doesn't mean that I did not have difficulties along the way. That doesn't mean that I didn't, worry about money here or there, because I am human, I have to pay bills. So, but it meant that I was more determined to make this other alternative way to live. I was more determined to make that work than I was afraid. And I've known a lot of people who said to me, I would love to do that, but how do I do that? And I'll tell them, I'll give them some ideas, because everybody's different. So I can't necessarily give you an idea, because all you guys listening is different. So I would give them ideas specific to themselves, and they would be like, yeah, but I don't know. I would have to take a pay cut for this or whatever, or it scares me, or I don't know how to do that. I did not know how to open a publishing company when I opened a publishing company. I remember Googling that, for crying out loud. I had no idea how to put a book on Amazon. Somebody actually wrote me an email and told me, you should put your articles in a book and you should put it on Amazon. And I'm like, you can do that? Like, this was years and years ago. But I was shocked because that was when Amazon and the ebook started, but I didn't know how to do that. I figured that out. I didn't know how to do a lot of things. And one of my favorite stories I probably talked about is it really bothers people that, especially with my kids, which I find funny, probably because they're millennials, it really bothers people that they can travel or have money and they don't work regular jobs. Like, it literally drives them crazy. The amount of comments that we get on that is just hysterical. On, well, you should really get, maybe someday you're going to have to work a real job. And we're always like, what? This is a real job. What are you talking about? It's like, what? So, and it's funny that people think unless you're actually doing 9-to-5 stuff, or unless you're doing what everybody else is doing and doing it in a certain way, they don't think you're doing it at all. And it's so strange to me. So I know that that was kind of a whole nother thing, but that's been sort of a theme lately where I'm seeing a lot of opportunity for people to create this life that they love and live differently. There's the amount of internet businesses that are out there, the amount of consulting stuff that people can do. There's so many opportunities for you guys to think outside the box and do work that you really, truly love, because that's another thing that I'm getting, because a lot of people, as their spiritual body is awakening, they're feeling depressed in their current job situations. And so there's so much opportunity, but people are fearful and afraid. And it's amazing, when I first started doing readings to now when I'm doing readings, the opportunity. I used to have to go and mail out postcards when I was in my 20s. You mailed things. You didn't have email. You mailed postcards. You actually did events. Now the opportunity to do the same thing I do now and reach people all over the world is amazing. We live in the absolute most amazing time ever. But you need to be able to tune into your guides and that guidance system and allow yourself to see where you're being guided. Be curious and open. Open your spiritual eyes. See more opportunity and be proactive to creating the life that you want, because this astrological universal shift your guides are working with, and the opportunities are endless. So on that note, I hope you have the most amazing day. Definitely check out the spiritualgurubox.com. Stop over at Keys to the Spirit World. I want to see you guys in the Higher Purpose Learning Group. Do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel or iTunes. And please comment below. I do read your comments. I love them. And until next time, have the most amazing day. Oh yeah, don't forget to check out Keys to the Spirit World, the ebook, on Amazon, if you want to know more about spirit guide communication. That's a little bit more in depth. All right, have the most amazing day. All right, aloha.